And really quick, Mr. Chair, just if you'll indulge me, I just want to make a quick announcement. You'll notice that Sonia Venerable, who has been serving this board and actually was a employee of the Office of Community Development for over 25 years, she has retired as of January 1. So obviously we thank her for her service and wish her the best. And joining us is Marjorie Hedrick. She is a specialist with Community Development Office in the supportive housing unit, and so she is going to be supporting us moving forward. So just wanted to introduce her. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much.
Morning, everyone. Welcome to our Human Resource Commission meeting. Today is January 15th, 2026, and I will start with Chair Marcus Adams,
Present.
Commissioner Shannon Koenig, Commissioner Terry Gannon,
Oh, I just signed in. I'm in Florida. I thought I got the time wrong, so I'm here.
Commissioner Tamika Armstead. Commissioner Tamika Armstead is not present. Commissioner Desiree Whitlock has declined. Commissioner Lloyd. Commissioner Nikki Lloyd not present. Commissioner Lisa Michelle Taylor.
Here.
Commissioner Joan Kelly Horn. Commissioner Joan Kelly Horn not present. And Commissioner Kevin McKenna.
Present.
Chair Adams, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Marjorie. Kevin, is Commissioner Horn recently selected?
Yes, that's my understanding.
Okay.
But we'll make sure to reach out to all commissioners after this meeting. As we're in the new year, we'll just send a note out and make sure everybody's, contact information and everything's good, and touch base and make sure everybody's still serving in the same capacity.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you. Good morning to all. Happy New Year to all the HRC commissioners. We've made it into the new year and we're starting afresh with our agenda items and our goals for the new year moving forward. Did everyone receive a copy of the previous minutes? And if you did, are there any corrections?
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been motioned and approved to receive the approval of the previous minutes. Well, I will accept the affirmation vote for those saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same. The previous minutes have been approved by affirmation. We're going to move forward. I will not have a chair report at this time. I will say that the special committee that I appointed is still working on the items of assignment that I've given, and I'm sure they're working in progress. And I will want to hear an update by the second quarter meeting of what has been discussed moving forward. And then at that time, I should have a chair report and we can move forward with other item goals for this year. Is there a question?
Yeah, this is Chair Gannon. So
Commissioner Gannon?
the committee that I was put on, and I haven't heard from anybody, so I don't even know what we're doing. Is that the committee you're talking about, the subcommittee?
That is correct. The special committee.
Well, I
that
haven't heard from anybody, so.
Okay, I will address the chair on that unless Kevin has an update.
Okay.
Yeah, I think now that we're in a new year, I think we can help just get the wheels back on that train, so to speak. So in the same, we'll look to reconnect, make sure that the commissioners, the people that were assigned to the subcommittee have each other's contact information so that they can begin dialogue and decide how they want to go forward. So we will help make that connection after this meeting as well.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, we're going to move on to agenda items number 4 for the committee reports to the chair. We're going to start with Shansia Mayfield with the supportive housing update. Shansia, Happy New Year.
You're muted, Shansia.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Chair Adams, and Happy New Year's to everyone. I just had one update that I would like to share with you all. As discussed, shared with you in the previous meeting, the Housing Resources Commission FY 2027 funding will require a request for proposal. And so we, with the supportive housing team, is in preparation for that request for proposal. But what we will need from the commissioners is the scope of services that you all would like to have included in that request for proposal. And so we have drafted a timeline in regards to that process. And we are asking that the commissioners would have to St. Louis County, the scope of services that you would like to have included in that RFP to us by February the 6th close of business. We can share with you the previous RFP that was released and the scope of services that you all determined in that RFP, so you can look at that. So we can have this RFP released no later than April 20th. And as you know, there's a 30-day period where it has to be posted, but our goal is to have the RFP posted by April 20th and it due back to St. Louis County by May 20th. And so I just wanted to share that with you. And immediately following this meeting, or when Marjorie will send you our information from the meeting, we will include the timeline that we do have. And then secondly, do we have any questions in regards to the request for proposal that is needed for the FY 27 funding?
Just a point of clarification, if I can, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So, and I'm just looking at the calendar just so that everybody kind of can put this in perspective. So I think if staff gets the proposed RFP or the most recent RFP out to us, sometime shortly after this meeting, I think we all look and just add comments. I would note we still have a meeting March 19th. So I think that still puts us on target. We can kind of confer in the interim, but by that March 19 meeting, we can actually approve or otherwise change as a formal motion or action by the board. So just kind of wanted to put that in perspective. We will have another meeting in between now and when staff is ideally looking to post that RFP. So that works as we're currently set up.
Yes, thank you for that, Kevin. And we actually took that into calculation, being able for them to have it so they would be able to review it. And then, as you stated, that March meeting, when we come back together. So thank you for that clarification. And then one more thing that I wanted to, I would like to ask the commission. So as we're working on the request for proposal for the FY 2027 funding, I know that you all are working together to determine your scope of services for the Affordable Housing Trust funds. And if we would need to release a RFP for that and how that would work so we can make sure that we're in place to support you in that process. Chair Adams.
Yes. Is there on the first part of your report, how many items did you want the commissioners to consider? You mentioned several for the proposal.
No, so the first request for proposal is the Housing Resource Commission's FY 27 funding. That's the last RFP that you all released. It was for 24. And so it was a 2-year renewal. So we were able to renew with the FY25 funding and 26 from that request from proposal. So now we have to do another request for proposal for the FY 2027 funding. That's first.
Okay.
And so then the question that I asked is that I know that you and the commissioners are working on, and correct me if I'm wrong, the scope of services or how you would like to utilize the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And if a request for proposal will be released with that funding, we can look into, once you all make your decision and how you would like to utilize those funds, if it can also be included in this RFP that we are working on. And it would be 2 sections, but I would have to get some direction from the procurement, St. Louis County procurement.
Yes, that is correct. That's part of the special committee that I appointed, was to discuss if or when those funds can be utilized and directed. So that's a part of their assignment. So yes, that will go hand in hand with that scope and for the RFP. So yes, so we should have a better insight at the time of the next meeting. Now, at the next meeting, how much window of time do we have for that scope to be submitted to procurement?
And so we're going to send you the timeline. So we asked for, according to the timeline that we have, but we are flexible. So we can work very closely with the commissioners, to make giving you all ample time. But for the FY27 funding, we asked that you provide us the scope of service by February 6th, is what we initially asked. But if you need more time, we're willing to work with the commissioners to ensure that that happens, because our overall goal is to ensure that these contracts are executed no later than October 1, 2026. But we're very flexible. We were just wanting to give ourselves ample enough time to be able to go, because it's a very lengthy process. And so we just wanted to make sure we got it for the commissioners in time. But we asked for February 6th for the scope of work for the FY27 funding.
Okay, that sounds good. Is there additional question? Mark, did you have a question for her? Excuse me, Kevin, did you have a question for her?
No,
Okay.
no. I did just want to.
All right. Thank you,
I
Mr.
noticed-
Truncia. If there aren't any additional questions from the commissioners, we will move forward. Thank you so much
May I
for
ask
that.
a question? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, the chair recognizes Commissioner Armstead.
Good morning and Happy New Year. My apologies, I could not get on the webinar and I finally did, so my apologies. My question is, what we're approving, is it the same type of places that we've been funding, like the United Way and are we just going back through that same process again, where we're looking at the same places again, like the Peter and Paul and the United Way, like the people that just keep getting the funding?
Right. Well, when we released the request for proposal, Commissioner Armstead, it is open to the public. And so those who have previously submitted proposals, they can, but it's also open for new proposals. So it's not necessarily that we will fund the ones that were has previously received HRC funding. It's a whole new process. So you have an opportunity to determine the scope of work. As you know, we go through a process with procurement where they have to be ranked and reviewed and ranked, and then all of that information is shared with the commissioners. And so with this FY 2027 funding, it's not necessary that you're going to fund everyone previously. It's a new process. And so we would go through it, from beginning to end, like you all did in FY 2024 funding.
So to be clear, I'm sorry, just to add what we would be approving in March, Commissioner Armstead, is just the RFP itself, just the scope of services that we'll release. And then whenever there are proposals received, we would come back to the commission to approve the actual award. So we're just not at the award stage yet. This would just be approving the scope of services that we're going to solicit for. If that helps.
Okay. It's just, I just felt it's like the same cycle, and I get it that we keep going through and we just end up making the same decision every year. And I am just wondering if there is a way that we could just be conscious of how money gets to people, like right away. Like if I'm unhoused right now, and we have a resource and I need to go to a hotel or I need to get a bus ticket, whatever it is that I need, like in that triage moment, what we've been funding is like the 211 and other places that already have, 7-figure budgets. So it doesn't really get to me as the mom who needs it right now. It just goes to some other organization that is so massive that's already got all this funding. And I don't understand why we can't figure out something different, because every year that I've been on this commission, I have said the same thing, but nothing ever changes. Like we just keep saying, oh, it's this process, and then we go through it, and then at the end of the day, we just give all the money to the major organizations, and we're funding United Way, which is another pass-through organization, and we're funding Salvation Army, which is a major national organization, and with big pots of money, and our money is not having that big of an impact as it could if we could figure out how our money could be used for people right in the moment where they need it, not as money to go point them to all these other places. That's just.
Well, Commissioner Armstead, I will respond to that, and then I will respond to Commissioner McKenna. He has a question as well.
Okay.
I would like for you to submit that concern to the special committee that I have appointed. It is one of their tasks is to decide how we can maybe direct some of the funds from the housing, from our other resources that we have to allocate, and if that could be a part of the special allocation. The challenge with that, and maybe Chauncey can address this as well, is probably is there a staffing resource who could handle that task that would not impede upon the budget that's been allocated by the county council, because staffing is limited. Who could handle that task specifically, or is there one already appointed? Can they incorporate that task if those special allocated funds were allocated? Those issues are being addressed by the special task committee that I have assigned. So if you can just submit that to the special committee, Marjorie can assist you with that, and then we can that will be discussed, and maybe we can come up with some type of mechanism where we can do that in this funding year. The chair recognizes Commissioner McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, because I just want to make sure we're all clear. So the process that we're going through with the RFP, of course, we all wish that could be quicker, but that is a county law. We have to solicit competitively for these awards. So the RFP process is just cyclical. We've done a lot better, I think, and the commission has been better timeframes of getting that approved. And that goes back to the whole point about us trying to get some feedback on the scope before the March meeting, so that when we get into the meeting on March, we know exactly what scope we're going to put out there. I want to speak on behalf of the Department of Human Services in supportive housing. We have a supportive housing unit that administers a bunch of different types of funding, some of which is HUD entitlement grants that we get. So the HRC is not the only group funding services for the unhoused or people at risk of being unhoused. So in that regard, I just want to say the commissioners, I encourage you to look at all the different services we provide in the supportive housing unit. And so there's a different mechanism of referring, and that's all through our continuum of care and coordinated entry process. So this is all just really a component of that. I mean, the HRC, to the point, doesn't receive as much funding as other places or as we wish we could, but so what we do fund with the dollars that come through this commission is really in addition to and on top of all those other services that we provide through supportive housing. So just want to be clear, there's a ton of different resources out there. And then to the point, again, from the perspective of human services, it is an objective of ours to be more diligent in our review of our subrecipients across the board. So not just in supportive housing. And so in that regard, we will be able to provide whatever data the commission needs to make an informed decision after proposals are received. But yeah, ultimately it's up to you all as a commission to determine who you want to fund. And I think for us, we will be careful to present to you all the impact that subrecipients have or have not had in the past so that you can make that informed decision. So there's definitely plenty of time. I wish we could speed up the process, the competitive bidding process, but it is what we have to go through. But again, we've kind of maximized efficiency around that. And so by the time those proposals are received, I think the commission will be in a good place to make a determination about who they do want to fund. So yeah, and to that point, I mean, the subrecipients that are currently under contract, whether they're under HRC dollars or other dollars, you know, it's really, we have to go off of who replies to the bids. And so I think that's another role the commission will have in that process is once the bid is put out to the public, it's up to us to go out and encourage reputable organizations to reply so that they get, you know, at least we have an option to look at them. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McKenna. And back to Commissioner Armstead, please submit that area of concern to the committee so that can be discussed. And I'm asking if Marjorie, if you can help her with that, I would appreciate it. If there aren't any additional questions concerning the supportive housing update, we will move forward with Robert Smith, Finance Manager for the HRC Finance Report. And you should have received that attachment with the prior invitation. So if you could pull that document up on your respective computers, and if Marjorie can pull it up for Robert, we can also display it here.
Can you all see that?
Yes.
Yes. First and foremost, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. If we could go to the first tab on the spreadsheet.
This one?
There should be some additional ones to the left. It should start with.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, revenue. There we go. First and foremost, thank you for allowing me to speak this morning. For anyone who may not be familiar with who I am Robert Smith. I'm the accounting manager here at St. Louis County's Department of Human Services. Currently, 2025 year to date through November, there has been fee income of $404,659. And we have seen interest generated in the amount of $30,102.63 for a total of $434,761.63. With this representing the first 11 months of the year, we are $27,559.36 above where we were at this same time last year. I should have final numbers for 2025 here shortly when I receive the December revenue for fee income and interest calculations. And I will be sending out a supplement report to this presentation at the end of this month, similar to what I did last January. Are there any questions in regards to revenue before I move on to expenses? Okay, if I could move to the next tab. For our expenses, on a total of $399,278.51 that we have awarded to our partnering contracted agencies, we have received a total of $357,348.37 in invoices from our subrecipients and have dispersed those funds accordingly. This equates to a 89.50% of the housing resources funds that have been expended year to date. We are still processing the last of the invoices, and we should also have that included in the year-end supplemental that I'll be providing at the end of the month. Are there any questions in regards to the expenses that the HRC has incurred to this point?
I would just make a comment if I could. I think looking at historical trends and issues in other grant funds, I think this is something to commend staff on. You know, we work diligently to try to get the money that's available out the door as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible. And so I think being at this point, you know, with a month left unaccounted for, to have 90% or so of the funds spent is a good thing. That means the money's out in the community. So I commend staff on that.
Okay, the next tab, if you could move to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund account tab.
Can the document be increased as far as?
Maybe. I'm not that technically savvy. Let's try. There we go. That helped.
One more. Yes.
Currently, for the medical marijuana sales tax revenue, year to date through November, there has been sales tax revenue generated from the sales of recreational marijuana in the amount of $3,047,336.76, of which the Housing Resource Commission through the Affordable Housing Trust Fund receives 1.5% of that amount, according to County Ordinance 29007, which equates to an amount of $52,282.69 of sales tax revenue and interest. And as of year to date, with the close of December, we have an ending balance of that trust fund of $183,518.05. This is an increase to what's currently displayed on screen and what was forwarded out to you, because at that time I did not have the interest that had just been reported in the past couple of days on the December sales tax revenue. And also, I'd like to draw your attention to the bottom of the screen. The marijuana sales tax revenue has seen a significant reduction this past quarter as compared to the same time frame 12 months ago. The November, December, January 2024, 2025 saw marijuana sales tax revenue that totaled $16,339.32. The past 3 months of reporting that covered the same time frame of November, December, and January of 2025, 2026, we only received $4,738.38. This equates to a reduction in revenue that equates to only 29% of past revenue totals. And then I'd like to address the question that came in from Commissioner Koenig, I can repeat the revised total of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Current total balance is $183,518.05.
Thank you.
And I will open the floor for any questions
I
in
have a
regards
question,
to the
Chairman.
financial documentation.
I have a question.
The chair recognizes Commissioner Caney.
Thank you, sir. I just want to make sure, thank you for your report. It's very helpful. I appreciate it. I want to make sure I'm understanding, you put on the next tab, a bar graph. And so, yeah. So it's really, the revenue is going down. Is that what I'm seeing? That sales of marijuana in our state are going down and the revenue is going down? Or this is a result of the court case that came through that changed our revenues? Or can you, do you know, or can you explain?
I'm trying, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Chair recognizes Robert to respond and Kevin following.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we just, this is perfect timing because we do have updates. So, and to answer the question quite simply, yes, this is the result of the court case, as far as we can tell. And just so I'm going to give you my understanding of the information we got back, reminding you that I'm not an attorney, but just to give you an idea. So when the robust Missouri dispensary case occurred, the ruling was county may levy 3% sales tax, but only in unincorporated areas. That was the change. So basically what we asked and researched with, assistance from our counselors is what is the impact? And essentially the impact operationally is none. This doesn't affect our ability to distribute the amount that we receive. It really just affects the amount, right? And so anything that's collected in those incorporated areas is no longer coming to the HRC. So this is an early indicator of what that impact will look like. What we asked as well was whether or not there would be any implications like clawbacks or anything like that, given that ruling. And what we were told is there's no reason to think that at this point. We wouldn't be responsible for paying anything back. What we are going to look at and what Mr. Smith and team are going to be monitoring is those disbursements from the state. Because the only thing that could maybe happen is if the state withheld some funding because of overpayments from the past. But again, there's no indication that will happen. So what we need to do, and I commend Robert for breaking this out. I mean, this is just one quarter. We obviously just need to stay on top of this and kind of evaluate these trends to see exactly if this is just the reduction in those incorporated sales taxes no longer being in that bucket. So I hope that helps.
I have a point of clarification, Chairman.
Yes.
So, Kevin, are you saying that the court case that was brought means, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. So the county was previously collecting sales tax revenue from all jurisdictions within the county that were selling. And now the county is limited to collecting sales tax revenue only from unincorporated jurisdictions. Do I have that right?
Yes, that is my understanding.
I think that I just want to note for a point of maybe future research or for the small committee that's getting ready to discuss disbursements. Whether or not that might, the fact that we're only collecting tax revenues from unincorporated areas would then provide some sort of lens through which we would make disbursements, just saying more directly that perhaps if we're only collecting tax revenue from unincorporated, we should be making only housing investments in those areas as well. I'm not sure, I'd have to go back and look at the AHTF ordinance. I don't think that's anywhere in there, but I think given the court ruling, perhaps that just provides some guidance for us in terms of an investment strategy or thoughts on disbursement. Just wanted to raise the point. Happy to hear what other folks think about that.
Uh, to the commissioners as a whole, I would like further clarity on the court case, because from what I understand, and maybe Commissioner McKenna can clarify, there's not as many unincorporated areas to collect from as opposed to the county at large. There are incorporated. And can you rebrief the commission on how the case got started and how it panned out? Because that means that going forward, a huge amount of our resource will be impacted, because it really doesn't make sense, because there's not as many unincorporated areas as as incorporated. So that wasn't, I don't understand how the judge could. What was the original complaint in the case?
Again, I don't want to go beyond. I'm not an attorney. I don't know who raised the case, but I would just say, from my basic understanding of it, it was raised probably by municipalities themselves, or by, I'm sorry, it was probably raised by a dispensary. But the point of it was whether or not municipalities deserve to retain their own sales tax that they're collecting, and whether or not the county even had the ability to levy that on unincorporated areas. So basically what I understand is, I mean, municipalities can still go out and levy their own taxes, but that money's not going to come to the county. That would stay within the municipality. But like, so again, I don't know who necessarily took it to court. Obviously it wasn't something that we would have supported because of course we recognize that it would result in lost revenue, but it is what it is. I mean, that's so, and that, I mean, we were really just scrambling to make sure we understood that we were going to get that full amount that is levied in the county and unincorporated. And again, we were also making sure that we weren't in a situation where we were going to be looking at a clawback or having to pay back an over disbursement. And so to that end, we haven't had none of those consequences have happened, at least. So I guess the one silver lining is that there is still some sort of a stream coming in. But I would say too, though, that, I mean, this is obviously a large thing, and I'm sorry to expound, but, you know, for DHS, we're adopting our new strategic plan right now. And one of the most key factors across the board for us is identifying new funding streams. And so that's something that I would charge this commission to do as well, is think of any creative ways that we might be able to kick more money into here. You know, there's a lot of fees and stuff established in ordinance that we may or may not have the ability to target for specific uses. I mean, there's obviously advocacy that needs to happen at all levels of government around these types of things. But I mean, where we can maybe identify some easy, low-hanging fruit here within the county that we can tackle with legislation or whatever, I mean, that's something we should consider. So
that was, yes, Commissioner McKenna, that was my concern. My concern with that is those fees are by ordinance. So if the judge's decision to rule in favor of the incorporated areas to retain this area of revenue, does that disengage our ordinance that was approved by the county council?
no, and as plain as understanding as I have from this research, there is no impact on our ordinance, other than it's just quite literally the only consequence of this is the amount of dollars that we would have to allocate. But it doesn't affect the HRC's ability to disperse the money that we do receive, and it doesn't affect the county's ability to collect that same tax on those unincorporated dispensaries. So again, it's just the amount of funding that we're seeing that has changed at this point. I mean, again, there's been no other movement on this. So short answer, no, it does not affect our ordinance or our ability to disperse and distribute funds as a commission.
On behalf of the commission, I would like to, if possible, if the county legal counsel can send a representative to kind of give us a brief on that from their perspective, I would like for that to happen, if that's possible. I want to put no additional burden on human service. The chair recognizes Jen Frank.
Yes, sir. And just for everyone's understanding, your attorney that usually attends the meetings had a conflict with another similar meeting today, a board and commission meeting. So I am filling in, but I will take that request back to my office.
Okay, I appreciate that. I think that would be most helpful because we as a commission need to understand when these things happen from a core perspective, we have to discuss that within and in terms of allocation, in terms of impact.
And
Do we have to change our strategic plan
okay,
as far as
and
usage through the
yeah, and I'm someone will follow up with you, sir.
Okay.
And I'll note too, just to the credit of the counselor's office, they did do a lot of research on this and package it up for me. I just need to confirm with them how they would prefer that to be shared. Obviously, that's not my information. So I think a lot of the answers or a lot of the questions that you have are answered.
Yeah, and
So
someone will follow. Someone can follow up with you too as well, Kevin.
okay, yeah, that's perfect.
Sounds good. If Marjorie, we can put that out as an agenda item for our next meeting in March. I appreciate that. I think that's very important that we have a thorough. I feel like maybe I should have been following that case, but I wasn't really aware. Is several things that's happening from a national standpoint I was more concerned about, and that kind of slipped my understanding as far as that particular case. So thank you for that information. I appreciate it, and we will be glad to review that at our next meeting. Robert, you can continue with your report, please.
That concludes my report unless there's any other questions of me.
That report was very thorough. As I stated last quarter, I did have a concern as to, I knew that I anticipated there would be a reduction in our revenue from the number of applications for licenses for being applied for. I expected that. And I guess we're heading to the point where with this additional impact from this recent ruling, that's going to escalate our need for funding needs. So I want to be able to think that through, and maybe I will have to join the special committee in a special session, and we can kind of determine how we will shape the discussion in our next meeting in March. The chair recognizes Commissioner McKenna.
Yeah, I think too, something to consider is, and my understanding is that there has been no funds distributed from the trust fund yet. And so in that regard, I
That's
think
correct.
one of the silver linings here is that we do have a significant amount of money right now that we could have a pretty big impact on the first round of disbursements. And that's something to consider is, what the timing of how often we put different proposals out or whatever. But I think we have the ability to still have a pretty significant impact with the amount that's been collected so far, and just kind of ride out the wave and see what the trends are, going forward. So just something to consider. And then one other point of clarification I just wanted to make from earlier, back to the RFP for the regular HRC funds. The reason that some entities are contracted with for multiple years, that was the scope of the RFP, right? And so again, in 2027, we will have the ability to decide, do we want to make these renewable each year for 3 years or whatever, or do we just want to make it one and done? Part of the logic behind making those renewable is that it does increase efficiency, especially in terms of staff time, because you're not then having to repost an RFP every year, which takes 30 days as a posting, all the replies. So again, that's all within the commission's rights to determine, but that's something you want to consider as we approve the next RFP is what do you want those duration of awards to look like? And for how many years are they eligible for renewal and things like that. So, but at the end of 26, the current contracted entities that are receiving HRC funds are not automatically entitled to funds again. Of course, they will have the ability to apply again, but their contracts are all termed at the end of this current cycle, which again, I think it was 24 and 25 and 26. Yeah. So it was a 3-year renewal cycle. So those folks are all cycling out at the end of this year. So the new RFP that we approve in March will be brand new, entirely new solicitation, entirely new proposals. And again, we will have the leeway to set that time frame. And so I think when staff sends out the RFP, the most recent RFP, I think what we need from the commission in the meantime is some thoughtful feedback. We don't need to necessarily do that all right here. I think take the time, look at the RFP, mark it up, each and every one of you, and we'll take every individual's comments and try to consolidate it into the best, final product. So I think once you see that come out, and that's to Shansia's point, the reason we were hoping to have that by February 6th is just so that staff has time to kind of consolidate everything. But obviously, we have all the way up until March 19th or whenever our next meeting to finally decide what that scope looks like. So just, again, my encouragement to you all is just please sit with that RFP and send us your thoughts, and we will take those under advisement for sure. Not under advisement, we will incorporate it into the best, final draft that we can present to you all in March. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Kevin. The chair recognizes Shansia. Go ahead. Mute.
I was just going to say, Chair Adams, to follow up to what Kevin just stated, with the request for proposal, you all can determine like how many years you would want, like 1, 2, 3 year RFP. But if whoever you decide that you would like to award the funds, even though it's a 3-year, if you choose that request for proposal, each year, you, the commissioner, with our support, can pause and say, how did this agency perform? How were they effective and efficient in delivering the services? If it is determined that they did not do well through the monitoring process that we have, even though it's if you all decide a 3-year RFP, you can say, we will not fund them or renew them. So you have that option to do that. And then also with the request for proposal, it is a template that is provided by procurement. And so the RFP itself, the area that you all would focus on is the scope of work, the services that you all want in there. The RFP itself, that is, we cannot alter the RFP itself, but you all can say in this RFP, this is the scope of work that we want to focus on in this request for proposal.
Thank you, Shansia. And I hope that that also with that explanation, I hope that satisfies some of the concerns for Commissioner Armstead. Does that help, Commissioner Armstead? And then we'll hear from Commissioner Taylor.
Yes, so I was just wondering, when we get ready to look at the new entities that could possibly, will all of us be a part of this or just a special committee?
We would require, the whole commission has to vote on any award. So as soon as once proposed, the only thing that would not come to you is if for whatever reason procurement would deem people ineligible if they don't meet the minimum qualifications of a proposal, but anybody that comes forward to staff, we would bring to you all. So yeah, the full commission will have to vote on any award.
Thank you, Kevin and Commissioner Taylor. Commissioner Armstead, does that help with some of your concern?
Yes, may I ask a few clarifying questions?
Go ahead.
Okay. This is dating back to, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago. And we were talking about the Department of Human Services not having, and I could be crossing my department, y'all, so forgive me, not having the latitude. And it was a different commissioner that would join us and talk about this. And I can't think of her name. But she would frequently tell us that they don't that they didn't have the necessary autonomy, or whatever the right word was, when it came to providing things or referring people to places like hotel access, rent deposits, emergency, I've still got it here, homeless kits, just something like ponchos for rain, because money wasn't allowed to be spent on emergency needs. And I don't work where you guys do, so I don't have the background and know exactly how all of this works. But ever since then, it may have been 2 years ago, I've just been advocating, and I've been advocating that there is a way to get people what they need right then as relates to these emergency needs that she was bringing up. And I am just, when I looked at the expenses that was brought up by Mr. Smith, it's just, like we're just sending money to the United Way, who raises $50 million every year. We got to send them 100,000. Well, couldn't that money have gone to people right in the moment they needed some rent assistance? And I just sound like a broken record because I say the same thing every time we go through this process, and I get all this information, and then we just still end up doing the same thing, and we still just keep awarding the same people. And then I keep hearing the other side saying we still can't do anything for emergency needs. Now, she's not on this call, so I can't totally speak for what she was saying, but I just want to bring that up. So my clarifying question is, like, how has that happened, and what could we do to prevent it? And what could we do to keep sending money to the United Way?
Well, Commissioner Armstead, I think you're referring to the situation where Commissioner Gannon had someone to come to her home seeking assistance, and she was helping them to help navigate through that current setup. And as a commission, we did discuss at that time about could we get a different way of point of entry, like the 211 systems, can they be adjusted? We had determined that we don't have a alternative source to assist at this time to replace that type of service. If we were to eliminate that, there'll be no additional ability to get assistance from an immediate standpoint to assist those in need of certain emergency shelter services. Because now there was also discussion concerning our allocation to the United Way, the other allocation through the other organization that was mentioned. I think there was something in that we still didn't have the correct or the best alternative source to that. How, if we were to eliminate that allocation through the United Way, which is tied into our 211 service, that would eliminate the service need. So at this time, I think we're still trying to figure out how, with the funds that we can control through the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, how can we utilize those funds to address immediate impact? And I think that's that's where we left the conversation. The chair recognizes Commissioner McKenna.
Yeah, I just feel compelled to provide some clarification. First, the commissioner who you may be referring to, Amber Banner, the previous director of Human Services, is no longer here. I am now the acting director of Human Services.
Oh, okay.
To give you an idea, though, of and I think this is an important clarification. So the HRC, you guys govern these funds all by yourselves. Like, you guys are the governing authority over the funds that come into you under ordinance. Department of Human Services is here simply, I serve as a commissioner, but we are really just a supportive role for that. So any use of funds using HRC dollars is totally at the discretion and determination of the commission. But I want to differentiate. We do have an Office of Community Development and a supportive housing program under OCD, which receives more funds than just HRC. We administer the HRC funds on your behalf based on your votes and things. But we also receive entitlement dollars through HUD, through the Emergency Solutions Grant. We have continuum of care grants. We have different sources of funding that we administer to all different types of entities for emergency services, transitional housing, supportive housing, permanent supportive housing, street outreach, all these things. All of those funds come with their own different set of governance. Again, HUD dollars are obviously very rigid and have federal laws and all these things around them. Typically, those services are all are done by action plans and things like that. So this is just this money that we're talking about, the trust fund and the HRC dollars. That's just one subset. That's what is all under your purview. And we just administer the funds at your direction based on how you all vote. But we do have a pretty extensive network of services for the unhoused. And so that's where we need to remember, in this, like I said, the HRC dollars typically go to to supplant or supplement a lot of, or in addition to what we fund annually anyway. And then also I would say over the last few years, we've scrounged what we could from our own general revenue fund dollars to put towards supportive housing services too. So this year we pumped out a lot of money for emergency pop-up shelters and things like that. As you may know, we support an emergency warming and cooling shelter throughout the year. So we do everything we can to kind of maximize the use of those funds, and to the best of our ability compound those dollars to make it to have the biggest impact with certain entities. But again, for as it stands with these dollars that you're looking at, that we will administer them and provide them to whichever entity this commission decides to award. And so I want to just say, I mean, the issues with United Way, I've heard those a million times as well. We were confined by what this commission decided to vote on, and that's also based on who responds to the proposals. And so that goes back to my point. Once we get this RFP posted, it's incumbent on us to go out and find any reputable organizations that we know that we think can do better, encourage them to apply. You know, if they're not in the competitive bidding, then we can't, you know, make that decision. So it's just, I think a lot of lessons learned. To your point, Commissioner Armstead, I think, you know, this is a perfect time for the commission to really set its goals and objectives and determine, you know, that we don't want to go down this road any longer. And if that's the case, you know, again, we're here to support you all in whatever decision you make. So, but again, I'll just say again, to reiterate, please look into supportive housing, because we do have tons of different programs out there, a ton of different agencies and entities through the continuum of care who provide these services throughout the year, and aren't necessarily only funded by these HRC dollars. So if you ever have residents in need, please reach out, because we do have other access points for them as well. Thank you very much.
We recognize Commissioner Armstead.
Oh, you know what? That's my old hand raised. Let me take it off.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner McKenna, for that additional information. And you're right, it is the purview of the Housing Resource Commission to determine which organizations are meeting the needs of the residents of St. Louis County as we deem fit. So that's a part of our purview. So once we get the RFP, and once we hear back from the special committee that's been appointed to look at certain tasks, we can then at that time determine the scope of work that we will focus on. We will determine that. And that will determine which organizations we will look at for approval for next year's funding cycle. So definitely that'll be our priority pursuit for this year, is to thoroughly evaluate the scope of work, to take into consideration the recommendations of the special committee, of the tasks that they have been assigned to discuss, and then we can move forward with some of those concerns that's been addressed by various commission members. We recognize Commissioner Armstead. Still at mute.
Okay, so this is a clarifying question. So correct, it was Commissioner Banner that kept raising these issues to us, and I hear that she is no longer there. So Commissioner McKenna, if I'm saying that correct, is there any way that you could provide us a little bit of guidance on what we would do? Like, I still don't understand like what we need to do as commissioners if, say, for example, we wanted to make sure that we were helping people with emergency needs, such as providing a hotel night stay or help on the rent, because those were the things that she kept telling us no one was able to do. But I don't know why no one was able to do that. So I don't even know how to make the right recommendations so that we are able to meet people where they are.
Yeah. If I can respond, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Go ahead. I think So it starts with, so to give you the mechanisms of the RFP. So the scope of service that we keep talking about, that's step one. If the commission decides that we only want to fund emergency shelters, or we only want to fund hotel vouchers, or that's what we would want to write in the RFP. And tradition has it, we would probably want to include different types of services other than just one. But again, that's the commission's prerogative. So when we send this RFP out, or the draft to you, the scope of work, that's where we want you all to give us feedback and say, no, I don't think that this is a priority this year, or I want to add this. This is something I don't see that was in there from last year. And so that sets the playing field, right? And then it's any entity that is able to provide those services can then reply to the RFP. So again, it'd be a whole different array of people. Depending on the scope, you may or may not get the same entities. I mean, obviously, we know that there's a lot of organizations that do across the board supportive housing work. And so a lot of times we do get the same entities apply for different funding opportunities. But again, it's not to say that they're entitled to it. And so the scope of service sets the playing field. We'll get the RFPs, and then based on the responses, that's where the commission would rightfully come back to staff and say, so what's the data on these folks? Have these folks ever received money before? We would be able to tell you yes, no, and how they did. I would say that obviously most of the concerns that you all hear from the community, we probably hear too, because again, we're administering funds from a ton of different sources. So we got people coming in all day. So I would say a lot of the performance issues that you would likely raise, we're probably well aware of. And we have the data to support that or not support it, based on our compliance reviews. And that's been, for me, at least since I've been in leadership and human services, this has been a primary focus for me is subrecipient effectiveness. We need to start holding people to account. I can say from my own experience, I've had to deal with entities that were awarded by decisions made well before I got here. And I've looked and I've thought, well, I don't understand. If I was sitting here, they never would have gotten $1. So just putting that out there to say, this is a new leadership in DHS. We are being very frugal this year, especially with all that's going on at the federal level. And so we have no hesitations to claw money back or to sever relationships with folks that aren't meeting the needs. So just keeping that in mind. And again, we'll make sure that the commission has all the data they need to make an informed decision at that time. Because we too don't want to be getting under contract with folks that are underperforming. So. I hope that helped. I know I expounded way beyond what you had originally asked. So,
No, we appreciate that. I hope that that helped address some of the concerns for Commissioner Armstead. And like I said earlier, we will be prioritizing with this particular scope of work for next year's funding cycle. We will look to, if we have to eliminate areas that we have prior funded based upon precedents, we will do that as a commission. So thank you, Kevin, for that additional information. Thank you, Robert, for your report, for the finance report. Appreciate that. If there are any additional questions from the commission in reference to the finance report, the next scheduled meeting for this commission is March the 19th. As I stated earlier, the special committee that's been appointed to review certain areas of allocation of funding through the Affordable Housing Trust Fund will be meeting, and we'll be incorporating also discussion on the scope of work. And they will bring that back to the commission, and we will, as a commission, decide if we will retain certain areas of focus or change them. If last year we had 6, this year we may have just 3. And that's what we'll implement. But we'll do that as a commission. And hopefully we can have a thorough, robust discussion between now and March 19th to make the final decision so that the RFP can go out and that certain organizations can respond that may not have traditionally applied for supportive funding. The chair recognizes Chauncey.
Thank you, Chair Adams. I just wanted to clarify a statement in regards to the questions that that was lifted by the previous chair that was asking in regards to hotel motel.
Mm-hmm.
We do have an agency that provides hotel motel and does an excellent job. One of the emergency shelters that you all have funded, helped to provide funding. It takes over $850,000 to run Loaves and Fishes emergency shelter. However, with the support of the HRC Commission, which you all provided $82,000 to Loaves and Fishes this past year, with that money, it helps them to run that emergency shelter, and we can get clients into hotel, motel right away. So it is a service that is being provided, and you all are assisting Loaves and Fishes in providing those services. It was Commissioner Armstead. I just wanted to make sure that I stated that we do have hotel, motel services that can be provided to our clients. And that's an immediate service. One of the many services that we provide, Commissioner Armstead.
Thank you, Chauncey. We recognize Mark McKenna, Kevin McKenna, excuse me. I keep calling you Mark for some reason.
Yeah, from what I understand too, my predecessor may not have been as vocal in these environments, but obviously that's different for me because I feel like I've talked too much this meeting. But I just wanted to note, I think what will be beneficial when we send information back out to the commission, I think we'll put together our supportive housing list of services just so that you all know when you're getting contacted by the community, where else you can refer people. I think that's just valuable information for you all to have. And again, I think it's certainly not always the focus of these conversations because we're talking about just that one bucket of funding, but it's important for you all to know all the different array of services. So we will get that out to the commission for sure. And I just want to leave this with everybody. Please feel free to reach out to me or OCD at any point if you have questions. Same thing with if you're getting complaints or concerns are raised about any entities that we may or may not fund, please reach out and we can investigate. I mean, and that's all important information for us to have because when it comes time to renew all these contracts, if we don't have any evidence that these people were doing a bad job or whatever, our hands are kind of tied. So again, just leaving that with you all to please feel free to send that information or any clients to us as well. Outside of just HRC business, we're happy to help. And if you have any questions about services or certain subrecipients throughout the year, just send us a note and we can get you whatever information and data we have. So thank you very much.
And Commissioner McKenna, if I could share, that was great information you just shared. The commissioners received a HRC orientation packet, which we outline all of the different funding sources that we have and the services that we provide across those funding services. So in the interim, any additional information we would like Commissioner McKenna stated, we will provide you. But if you would revisit that orientation packet, it has the information in regards to the services that we provide, also the different funding sources and the amounts of that funding and how the funding is connected.
Thank you, Chauncey. We recognize Commissioner Taylor. You're still on mute.
Sorry. I never did receive that packet. How can I have that one? Well,
I think it's a good idea for us to probably just send it back out to the commission in general. We'll make note of that. We'll get that out.
Okay. Thank you everyone for everybody's response and the participation for today's discussion. I just want to confirm, do we have anybody from the public in attendance for today's meeting? I didn't hear that in the beginning of the. I will always ask that because we always, it's per our ordinance, the public can join the meeting, but we don't have any for today apparently. And going forward, I think going forward, some of that information will be handled by Marjorie Hendrick. And we thank you for joining the HRC Commission to assist us with the administrative tasks for us. I appreciate it. And we thank Commissioner Gannon taking the time out from her Florida excursion to participate with us from all that sunshine. All right.
Well, it was cold this morning, so I didn't really mind.
Oh.
Okay, and while I have the floor, I just want to say I didn't do much talking, but all this information was really good. I am on that subcommittee, so I listened to everything and we'll take all that up. And, you know, I think we got a lot to discuss, so.
Please do, because I expect a report back from that committee for the March 19th meeting. If time allows, we may have I may have a special meeting between now and February the 6th to see if we could do a review of the scope of work, and therefore we can make a decision on that at the March 19th meeting. So I will get with Marjorie on terms of dates, and then we'll go forward from there. But I want to thank everyone for participating today.
Mr. Chair, would that be
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, would that be a meeting of the full commission?
That will just be a special session. I would like to give with council to make sure that I be in compliance, that I would not
But you mean
invoke.
not just any kind of subcommittee meeting, but a meeting of the full commission? Is that accurate?
It won't be the full commission. It just be me, the vice chair, and maybe one other commissioner.
Okay.
So it will not be a full meeting. It'd be a special session.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been motioned and properly seconded for us to adjourn. The time is 10:16 a.m. January the 15th, 2026. We are officially adjourned, and we look forward to the March 19th meeting, and look for an announcement in regards to the special session that I may call. I haven't decided yet, but I will discuss that with council as well as scheduling with Marjorie. All in favor of the adjournment, say aye by affirmation.
Aye.
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 Opposed the same. It has been approved. We are officially adjourned. Thank you so much for attending today. Very good discussion. And we look forward to seeing all of you at our March 19th meeting.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.